I wish I knew how to quit you.
Then why don't you?
You're listening to Codependent Content, the podcast where we discuss the TV shows, movies, books, and video games in which we share an unhealthy relationship. My name is Mattias, and I have what they call an anxious attachment style. Join us each week as we try to make sense of the media we continually give our hearts against our better judgment, and commiserate with us as we struggle and fail to let go of the characters, stories, and worlds that we are entangled with. Because just when we think we're done with content, it draws us back in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Codependent Content. It's been a while. My name is Mattias Merisigan, and I'm joined by a special guest this time around to talk about The Last of Us Part 2. Potentially, he'll be around for the run of the show, unless he really, really hates me. And then he's going to be gone. But why don't you go and introduce yourself?
Hey.
Tell us who you are.
Yeah, my name's Morgan Mayer. I'm an actor. Mattias and I met working on, actually, I think we worked on 2 projects in the last 6 months together. Mm-hmm. And we also pretty passionate about acting and post-apocalyptic thriller tragedies.
Actually, we worked on something. Let's put you on the spot. I forgot to ask you before we came in. I edited something and you seen it. What do you think?
Actually, so in full disclosure, the short that we just made together also is a little post-apocalyptic.
It sure is.
In a sense.
Yes.
But yeah, it's funny we're talking about this right now. I literally watched your cut this morning for the first time.
Yeah.
So it's very fresh. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's great. I think editing's magic, and it's for an amateur skeleton crew, almost zero budget kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I can't believe how good it looks. And so I'm happy.
Yeah.
If I'm being really honest, I hate watching myself.
Sure.
Because you sense fake or tricks or distraction, and I will always want to do it over again or be oh, I should have done a little different or a little better. I should have said it quicker. I should have said it slower, whatever the thing is, Mm-hmm. Why did I move my hand like that? So yeah, it's I'm trying to be as objective about the cut as I can with where we're choosing to cut and stuff, and not getting super bogged down in performance. Our director, Britt, is our director. I'm choosing to trust her with performance stuff. But I'm happy with it. For first cut, I think it's great.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who used to be an actor, I for sure, there's so many things that can make or break a performance, whether it's direction or just the writing, on set, all those kinds of things. And then the editing also shapes the performance. I've definitely felt like I've put in better performances that editing didn't come out,
Sure.
But yeah, so I can understand that struggle, but I think the performance is great. I think there's stuff there,
Thanks.
That's to say that I didn't do a bad job. If anyone did a bad job, it has to be Britt. So I'm going to throw her. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. We'll cut that out.
Or don't tag her.
Or don't. Well, speaking of which, hate seeing yourself on camera. Did you know this is going to be a video podcast?
Oh, is that what that is?
What that is. Say hello to TikTok. Yeah. Well, welcome. Thanks so much for being willing to do the podcast.
Yeah.
It's been quite a while for me to be able to get this up and running again, whether it's work stuff or scheduling or whatever. And finding the time to talk to someone about something is so important. Now, The Last of Us Part 1 was the first show that we talked about on the podcast. And so it made sense I just had to come back to do it a second time.
Yeah.
Now I am a big lover of The Last of Us, the video game, the show, obviously, and anything that Naughty Dog honestly does in terms of a game company. I've always been a fan of their games way back to the Jack and Daxter days. Literally sometimes the only games that I play. I don't have time for video games, but I will play those. Yeah. I will take time out of my to play all iterations of it too.
Sure.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us about your experience with The Last of Us, any of that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, hi, I'm a gamer. I like games. I'm getting older now, and as I'm sure kind of alluding to just now, you start running out of time to play games as things begin to fill up your schedule. So at this point, the only games I really play anymore are League of Legends and Magic the Gathering. Check. The big nerdy ones. But I played The Last of Us probably like a year after it came out and was obsessed. Absolutely loved it.
So that would be way back in 2014.
I want to say, I think I played either 14 or 15. It was like, I played it in my second to last year in Chicago. Had a roommate who played a lot of games, spoke extremely highly of it. And it got me hook, line, and sinker. I mean, it is, pun intended, but it's one of the most cinematic video games I've ever played. It's one of the only shooters I've ever played where, if you can call it a shooter, where like I gave a shit about the plot and it mattered to me. I cared more about the story than shooting. I mean, in full disclosure, I don't like third-person shooters. Very hot take, I know. The perspective just bugs me. Like, I can't get into any of the GTA games or Red Dead that much just because I don't like that, like aiming at things, but also being able to see my guy kind of perspective thing. It bugs me. But The Last of Us was awesome. Having said that, I only played the first game. So I don't know what happens. I have no idea, like, everything in the series. I mean, the series, season one had a lot of similarities.
You've seen this first season too. Yeah.
Oh, and I've seen the first season. Yes. I should have said that. But yes, I saw the first season of the show, and there's differences, but like, it's pretty close. I would say. I have no idea what happens. Right. For me, everything's fresh and new now. So yeah,
I think that's super exciting. As a person who's played the game and knows what's coming up, I think that The Last of Us is part 2 is I'm not gonna say like a perfect game, but the things that it does in the game is like perfect for the medium, right? There are things that you only get in a video game medium from The Last of Us 2 that it's hard to get in any other medium. I'm going to be curious on how they do that in this show during this season, but at the end of the day, it also is a really, really good story, and they take a lot of big swings. And it is at times been divisive. It has at times been like praised as like one of the best games ever. There's a whole lot of baggage, so to speak, weight going into like this show. And as someone who already knows what all that is, to see it from a newcomer's eyes to me is like super, super exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. So
I feel like it's probably going to wreck me. Who knows?
I hope so. Honestly, the first season wrecked me so much. And especially, things that weren't even part of the game, that just definitely, I think I cried almost every episode. There's something, or at least got choked up. Before we get started talking about the show, which we're going to go in, I will say, even though he hasn't played the game, and I have, and I know what's coming up, I will avoid spoiling anything for the most part of like story beats for the game. I just like people to experience that for the first time. So that's fine. Any upcoming episodes, we will not spoil, but you should know going in, I would hope that you had seen the first episode of the show, or this episode that we're talking about. We will spoil the episode. I don't need you to keep, there's no spoiler section. We're just going to get right into it. So hopefully you've seen the show, or at least this episode. And we can just jump right in. So that's your spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the episode, leave, come back. Don't leave. Also, I want to give people permission. I've getting really into, I've in terms of like podcast listening, I feel really bad because like I should mention, this is a side note completely.
I don't know where we're going right now.
As a podcast listener, I used to do it a lot while I was commuting, and I'm doing like audiobooks. I'm doing all these things. I'm having a lot of hard time keeping up with podcasts. That's why it's hard for me to also like start a podcast and talk on a podcast because I know how hard it is to like consume them.
Yeah.
I've had to do the thing where I'm sure most people have already done, and I want to give people permission to do it as well. You can listen to this at 1.8, 2 times, 1.5 times speed.
Speed us up.
Whatever works. If I'm too slow speaking, speed it up, because at the end of the day,
if you just like looking at us, put it on mute.
Some people disagree with that kind of thing. I have joined the crowd because I just can't keep up anymore. So I understand that.
No ego, baby.
But yeah, anyway, that said, welcome to Codependent Content. Let's get into it. Why don't we just start off with, you haven't played the game. You don't know what to expect.
Not at
all. Give me general thoughts, like just starting off with the episode and how it's going. I mean, there's obviously there's a cold open, but basically this takes place 5 years later. What's your thoughts? What's going on?
I mean, I think that my general thought for the episode is that compared to season 1, man, things feel a lot safer now. It is like that season 1 has this constant sense of stress and urgency, and everything's dire. And like season 1 really likes to like pick these moments where they're like, hey, for the next 30 minutes, we're trapped in this abandoned school, and it's like kind of pretty, but we're not going to let you have it for more than a couple moments, because you need to get to point B, or because some guy with a gun's coming, or because you hear something. Whereas like, you know, the town is like safe and structured. So that feels very different, right? And that's also like watching Joel and Ellie try and fit in to that world is also a weird thing, right? I would say, just watching like one episode, I'm like, they're struggling. They're both having a hard time fitting in. Exactly. For different reasons. But like the like super hyper focused, mission driven kind of ethos that they both share is like not as useful in town. So I noticed that a lot. I'm glad we got the giraffes again.
Speaking of which, let's just start with, that's all great stuff.
Yeah.
I agree. And I mean, we're going to get into all that. That's definitely like a lot of, I think that's exactly what they want you to be getting, you know, from this episode, is the how out of place it seems for our characters and for the show to be in a place like this in Jackson. This is the last place Joel wanted to be 30 years ago, you know, but here he is, and here our characters are trying to figure out how to not just survive, but to live now, you know. But before we get into that, we do have a cold open, and we can't skip a cold open.
No. I can't believe I.
No, not you at all.
It's a good cold open too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, it is great. And now this is going to be an interesting thing to see how people who haven't played the game or whatever feel about this. But we're starting with characters that we don't know.
Correct.
Now, this is something that you haven't been introduced to. You're having to like learn who these people are. We're starting with Abby, who is a character from the game, and her kind of group of we'll say X Fireflies.
Is it X? That was what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Are they young aspiring Fireflies who like hadn't been brought in yet? Or are they purposefully no longer Fireflies?
They are X Fireflies.
Okay.
Fireflies at this point, essentially, from what we've gathered, do not exist at this point. That was the last little stronghold, was in the hospital, St. Mary's, which is where the end of The Last of Us, the season finale, took place.
Right. Joel kind of.
He kind of had to do some things.
Yeah, he did.
I feel like I'm skipping something altogether. We get the ending of the first season first, before we even get this cold open. So we actually do get...
They do the promise me thing, right? They give us the promise me everything you said about the Fireflies is true. With Ellie and Joel, right? You mean that part?
Yeah, the fact that, like, why did they leave? So if anyone needs a reminder, the reason we're here is because Ellie is immune to the virus, was brought to the hospital. Joel didn't know this, to essentially die to save everyone else. And Joel, being the complicated, selfish human being he is, decided he can't handle that. He can't handle losing Ellie. And he stopped that from happening, but he killed a lot of people in the process. But Ellie's purpose, as far as she knew, was to save people, to save the world, to find a cure. And she doesn't know what happened. She just woke up and she was no longer in the hospital. And he told her that this is the certain things happen, that they can't find a cure. It's not possible, and just move on. That's where we pick up. That's what we know of, like what Ellie knows and what, anyone else knows. Right. So devastating moment, very pivotal. That's how the first game ends, is with that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very heartbreaking, because you, in some ways, have to decide, am I on Joel's side or not? Do I agree with him or do I not? Do you, Morgan, agree with Joel and his decisions?
Big question.
Yeah.
Like, I'm skeptical of anybody who just goes yes or no to a question like that.
Yeah.
But I will say this, because this question is very clearly going to become a theme, I think, for all of season 2. I feel very confident of it. With some scenes with Catherine O'Hara later and whatnot, which I'm sure we'll get to also. But I think the whole point of The Last of Us is like, you think you know where the lines of good and evil are drawn, but like when something terrible or dangerous or extreme happens to someone you love, won't you do anything for them?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I think that, I think the question you exactly asked me is like, do you agree with Joel? And I'm like, well, no, because I don't give a shit about Ellie the way Joel does. But if I were Joel, then yeah, I think I can absolutely see doing what he did. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's good, but it's very understandable.
Yeah, it's a trolley problem,
right?
On a bigger scale, on a more personal scale, right?
And even the trolley problem, that the railroad car has to go down one course or the other.
Yeah, I
don't think there's guarantee, right, from Joel's perspective, that just because Ellie is immune, these 3 scientists doing this brain operation for the first time ever with the first subject who's ever been immune to the Cordyceps mutation is going to be successful, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think he knows that. I don't think any of them know it, right? So it's a little more complicated even than the trolley problem, because Ellie's dying for sure, it seems like, and maybe humanity gets a cure. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
Do you think Abby agrees with Joel?
Abby is the young, so I love that actor. Yeah. Booksmart's like one of my favorite movies all time. Also, if you haven't seen Dope Sick, that show's also depressing, but really great. She's probably done a lot of other stuff I don't know about, but
shout out to Last Man Standing.
Oh,
Tim Allen.
Wow.
Her first thing I saw her in, but there's plenty more.
Oh yeah.
Booksmart was like her breakout film role, but yes.
I would do an entire podcast about that movie another time.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about that cold open, even though I also have a problem with it, but the thing I like about it is that so much of season 1, everything is through the perspective of Joel. And so we never get to really know anybody that comes across their path until they get blown away, right? And so one of the reasons I didn't find the episode with Melanie Linsky particularly compelling in season 1 is because, like, we don't know exactly what happened to Melanie, and her brother, I think, is the one that was given up so that the boy could get medicine, right? Like we don't exactly know, but like it kind of makes her a little hateable and a little evil, right? Because like we don't know the trauma, we see her people like lynching the Fedra agents and stuff, and it's kind of like, are they the good guys? I like the cold open because we at least get to see the origin story of Malice, right? That her perspective is rooted in the fact that an evil man showed up, mowed down all these people, and took the girl that's supposed to have the cure for all of us. And in that, also killed someone very dear to me. Who wouldn't be like, and it's post-apocalyptic world, I don't have a 9-to-5 or anywhere to be. Yeah, I'm going to hunt that guy down. I'm going to find him and kill him slowly. Like, okay, I get it. So I like the fact that we're like, season 2 seems like we're starting to show you how complicated folks' motivations are for doing, quote, bad things. I like that a lot. I think that it's a little melodramatic with the slowly. Huh? When we find him, we're going to kill him slowly. I was like, what the fuck? I was kind of like, that's okay. Everything about this was super reasonable and like rooted in justice in a sense of like, or like avenging some wrong. And then it's like, oh, you just want to torture him? It's kind of like, well, now I don't know exactly how to feel about you.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how people shape up in terms of their views on Abby as a character. I love Abby as a character. Straight up, this scene is not in the game. When we first meet Abby, we have no idea what she's about or her motivations.
Okay.
So it's very interesting to start off with very much setting up that this is going to be her arc, that we already know that she is out to find a single person, and this is what she wants to do to Joel, right? She's out for revenge. For whatever reason. We might not get the details of what that is, but she's definitely out for revenge. So it's definitely going to put us on the back foot. But I in terms of like our support for Abby, because we like Joel, we like Ellie, a lot of people will justify what Joel did, but I think it's really important to remind people through a character like Abby that Joel did a bad thing.
Did a lot of bad things.
Joel's a bad person who did a bad thing, essentially. Like whenever you look at it from a certain perspective, if you don't know who Joel is, like this guy just comes around and takes away people you love and the cure that could save everyone. Like that's a very, and the way he goes about it, it's a bad thing to do,
Yeah, the only quibble I'd make is you said he's a bad person who does bad things. I don't know if he's a bad person.
From her perspective?
I think he does a lot of bad things.
Sure.
I think everybody does. I don't know if anybody's a bad person.
This is going to be, sure. I can understand that thing. I will say that like one of my favorite questions is talking to people about like whether or not you actually believe Joel is a bad person. But I can understand the perspective of like, there's no such thing as like bad people with their people that do bad things, I
think he does good
Joel
things
is
and bad things.
as complicated as them, and I do think that his arc, especially in the first video game, the first series, is about not choosing the route of selfishness and not choosing the route of violence, right? And essentially he never really overcomes that. He gets better at like, he lets down walls. He becomes vulnerable with Ellie. He creates a connection with someone that he wasn't sure he was going to be able to do again after losing Sarah, his daughter. And I think there's a lot of character growth for him as a person. Like he almost the scar on his temple because he shot himself, but at the end of the day, he resorts to his old instincts to do the thing that he does. And whether or not it's justified to certain people, it is from the perspective of these characters a very bad thing.
Yeah,
he took away more from them than he was essentially losing in their eyes, I would think that that's the perspective that they're coming from, that this guy does not deserve what he did. And like, why does he get to do that? you know?
No one gets to do that.
Sure.
I
But
think
he did.
he didn't get to do it, right? It wasn't like he was allowed to or permitted to. But I think that like the Joel distinction, right, would be that if he didn't kill all those people right then, he would probably have to kill them later down the road because they'd keep coming for Ellie, right?
Yeah, it's
and he even says that. Like he's just like,
Yeah.
if I let you go, you just come after her later, right?
Right, and
so it's like
that's the thing,
either I kill you all now if I'm willing to do it, or I spend my life running from you, or kill you later.
Yeah,
So.
I guess that's always the question, though. Is like to anyone else who's not Joel, like why is Ellie so much more important than the rest of us, right? And I feel like to a certain extent, to be on Joel's side is the fact that like, look, we're already gone. Joel's seen humanity. Joel's seen what's happened the past 20, 30 years. There's no point in finding a cure at all. Like, there's no point in trying to like just like leave it alone. Like, she is important. That's the point of the first game, I think, is to show that like one single life is important, but more important than the rest of ours. It's like how come he gets to make that decision, you know?
I mean, I understand the utilitarian argument. I understand that it's better to lose one life than 1,000 lives, or 1 million lives, or 8 billion lives. Like, it is, absolutely. But like, first of all, like I said earlier, there's no guarantee that Ellie's brain just cures humanity, right? This is like experimental surgery that's never been done before on a virus that no one's ever cured before. And also, like, I don't exactly remember, but I mean, like, in that like last episode, it didn't seem like Ellie exactly knew what was going to be happening to her.
No, she did not.
Right? Like they said, like, oh no, she'll put her to sleep.
She's unaware in the
she just
game.
told her we're putting her down. Well,
she did not know
feel
she
anything.
was not going to wake up. Yeah,
and it's like that's fucked up too.
Yeah,
right. You don't like. I don't think anybody gets to decide. I'm going to kill this person so I can hypothetically save a bunch of people. Right? That's just as fucked up as what Joel did.
This is a very good.
Right?
This is a very good segue. Because when after the cold open, they go out for revenge. We go into the 5 years later. We meet up with Ellie, and here she is. Very early on, we're going to find out that she's mad at Joel. And so I'm curious, like, what your thoughts are, like, in terms of like where Ellie's thoughts are on all this. Like, what is going on with her now that she's been given this opportunity? You know,
to live more. You mean, or to mean just like the opportunity being to have a life?
Yeah, essentially. You know, like what's going on? What are your thoughts on this new Ellie? Like what she's doing?
I don't know, man. It's so complicated.
Yeah,
it's so complicated. Like, how much does she actually know? I don't know. Sure. I think she senses that Joel wasn't being totally honest with her.
Yeah,
so I think she probably resents that a lot.
Yeah,
right. But also, it's like she's still kind of a kid. I know she's 19, but it's like, yeah, she's legally an adult, but like, how much actual life experience does she have? You know what I mean? Like, most of her adult life has just been pushing through trauma.
Absolutely.
And like, Joel is the only human being that throughout her whole life has unequivocally been like, I'm here to protect you. And sometimes that means doing things you don't understand or don't like. Right. Yeah. And like, as much as I'm like, yeah, Ellie's mad, it's like also like Catherine O'Hara says, I mean, it's like you're having the problem that every fucking father has with their teenager. Oh, your teenager is angsty and mad and doesn't like you and won't talk to you. It's like, yeah, like every 19-year-old, you know, or teenager, or whatever. But I'm like, I don't know. I don't think that like, I know, I'm sure like maybe part of Ellie's frustration is rooted deep down in this, and he wasn't honest with me in this big moment, right? Of course, that plants a seed. But more so, it seems like she's just like, I want to be independent. I want to be treated like an adult. And you're still like taking my guitar and fixing that and looking after me at the dance and making sure that this guy doesn't talk about me or whatever. And it's like, I get that. I think it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah. I think it's there's clearly some animosity going on. I think the reason I mention it, it's important to note that Ellie is constantly, more than any of us, searching for some sort of purpose in this life. You know,
Mm.
she wants to have a reason for existing. And when she found out she was immune for whatever reason, it gave her that sort of purpose to like help people, to save the rest of us, you know? And I think she's very disappointed that she was taken away. And yeah, I do think that it's clear that she knows that Joel left something out,
Yeah.
that he's not being completely honest with her and like didn't tell her exactly the thing. And I think she wrestles with that.
Yeah.
You know, and she's clearly wrestling with that. And now, as you said, she's trying to find her own independence in her own way and her own, who am I now without, if I'm not this, right?
Yeah.
I think there's times where like we see her training twice, like she's training to fight someone, which is a new thing. We never see her doing this kind of thing for the game. But we do get a shooting scene as well.
Yeah.
And
we get a fighting
oh
scene.
yeah, absolutely. And throughout these scenes, especially in the shooting one, like she's at the end of it, she's like, I'm immune. I want everyone to know. Like, it's like a weird, like she wants that to not be her identity anymore, I think. And it's almost like she gives fuck all about this kind of thing. And she's trying to figure out like, who am I now? Right? If I don't have this, if no one can, no one can even know. Right? It's like, I think it eats away at her that she lost that purpose and she doesn't know where she fits anymore. And she's trying to find a way to fit. She wants to have purpose. She wants to go on the patrol. She wants to, it's not as simply like, get me away from like Joel or whatever and like get me out of this place. You know, she's like, she belongs, as far as she knows, outside with the monsters.
Yeah.
She is, and she's struggled with. There's a scene in the first season where she's looking at a trapped walker. You know,
in like that crawl space.
And I think she feels like akin to it. She's like, "Am I like you?"
Mm-hmm.
In that way. There's a moment that she has with it before she like kills it, and I think she still feels like she belongs out there for some reason, you know? And I think that's what she's struggling with now. And I think having lost that choice and having lost that purpose is what's brought her here now.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I have to think about it more.
While you're thinking about that, did you notice any changes to Ellie? I'll just kind of point that out.
I mean, tattoos, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty gnarly.
Oh yeah. So a big part of the game, big part of Ellie's character, 5 years later, is there's a tattoo covering up where her bite mark used to be, right? And not only that, I think we get context clues. This is probably not a spoiler to say it, but it's not a bite mark anymore. It's a little more gnarly.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll reveal it or if it's just left to context clues, but she did something. We never see it, but she did something like put acid on it or something to hide the bite mark.
So
in
it
the
looked
same
like
way that
disfiguration.
in the same way that she did it earlier with the stomach, you know?
Okay.
Because people can't know,
Yeah.
because again, then it'll turn into them wanting to find a cure again, you know, or something like that. Right.
Totally.
So that's, it's important. It's important context clues. I was curious if you picked up on that,
I did.
Yeah.
I definitely got that. Personally, it begged the question. I was like, who the fuck gave her that tattoo? Wouldn't they be like, nope. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't know.
I think the scar came first, and then and then they're like, "Hey, can you cover up this day?" Yeah.
Smart, smarter than me.
Yeah,
but yeah, I know. I definitely clocked that. I want to talk about Ellie more, potentially
in a later scene or now, or we can keep moving on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess like with how we're supposed to feel about her, because I think that like one thing I found myself struggling with in this episode, and I guess this season, is that like a lot of Ellie's refusal to obey whoever is in charge, whether it be Joel or her fucking senior officer or whatever, is like pretty endearing when she's a 14-year-old and like has been abducted and like has this special thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm just a bad person or what, but I'm like, I'm more annoyed.
You said there's no such thing as bad people.
No, I can be bad. But I'm like, I'm more annoyed by her now.
Yeah.
And I'm more like, man, it's been 5 fucking years. And she's still, when she gets her first shot to do recon, and the person in charge is like, hey, don't do that. She's like, cool, fuck off, I'm out. I'm like, what? Like, how?
It's not her first. We should mention that she's done recon and patrol before.
Okay.
But the idea was that they wanted to keep her there for a while.
Yeah.
Is that like, hey, just stay on the gate, you know?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I think we can get into that a little bit later. Because that's interesting. Because I think it's important to note, like, where's anyone? Because she's not the only one, right? She has a friend, Dina,
Right. Yes.
that's along with her. They're both kind of this kind of way, right? And I think there's also a difference of knowing there's going to be a major differences in terms of like the fact that we're in Jackson, Missouri, in this kind of settlement that was built, this commune, as it were, very different from the Fedra station where she came from, right?
Yes.
Very different from the world that she's used to knowing. This is new. Like this didn't exist like 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, so everyone's like figuring things out. And I think that there's, as a person who's been on her own and having to figure out her own way, along with Joel, where like it's two people that like take care of each other.
Yeah.
These people, it's hard for her to feel part of that, right? I think it's less a lack of authority and more of the fact that like she's used to doing things on like her own way. And because again, she wasn't born here like some of the characters that we'll meet. She doesn't have the experience that a lot of these people have had.
Sure.
And like that lack of authority and respect mostly comes from her need to, I think, just be her own person again, you know, be on her own. And just the fact that like she doesn't want to have to answer to other people right now, you know?
I get being a rebellious teenager.
I think it's a little bit more than rebellious teenager, though.
And I get wanting independence.
Yeah.
Especially the young person. It's a universal thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is why we fight with our parents about curfews.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we want to drink before we're legally allowed to. Like, I'm not trying to say I'm numb to that. I'm saying with Ellie's particular life experience, her doing her own thing has gone poorly for her so many times, to the chagrin of the people that are caring for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, at what point is she going to wake up and be like, these are maybe good pieces of advice. Maybe I should be more cautious, right?
Mm.
I get that she's immune. Her friend / crush isn't immune.
Mm-hmm.
She goes into that house with her friend. First of all, holy shit, dangerous. But second of all, like, and like, put it on top of the fact that I'm like, the last time you did this, your other crush and best friend fucking died.
Interesting. Yeah.
Wake up. Like, come on. There's a pattern here, right? You went to the place that was too dangerous that people told you not to go in. And yeah, sure, you survived, but what'd you pay for that?
Here's
I don't know,
thing.
man.
Well, what you're hitting on is, you know, I think it's really good. I think honestly, like, these are really good observations. I want to get more into that a little bit later.
Sure.
We should hit more on some Jackson stuff or whatever. But
Sure.
I think it's important to note that, like, first episode, obviously we're going to be setting up a character that is needing to learn potentially those things, you know, to grow, to find out, you know.
This is what I'm hoping, right? Because I mean, like, look, I'm not blind to it.
Yeah.
I understand that. I know what I'm saying, guys. But I mean, like, going back to when we first get to Jackson, right? She's like wrestling with a man who's like double her size. Yeah. And kind of like does some nice judo on him. I'm going to call it judo. I don't know what the fuck it is, but like very like serious wrestling moves. It's impressive. Yeah. And then he taps out and she doesn't stop, which I'm also like, shitty. Don't like that. Whatever. But then the instructor guy or trainer is just like, yeah, well, he also took it easy on you. And she's like, what? Don't ever do that again. Never pull punches. And I'm like, yeah, that's a writer's way of telling you this person's going to get hit real hard in a couple episodes or something.
Yeah. I like that. It's a little bit of foreshadowing. Yeah.
I think so.
I love that. Now, again, that scene's not in the game, but I if we pick up on that.
I think so, right? It's like the whole point of that scene is not that she wrestles too long.
Mm-hmm.
It's that she thinks she can handle everything. And then I think she's about to find out why people try and protect her.
That was one of my favorite moments because not only do we like get, Bella Ramsey doing their darndest, the best performance, which I should mention this. We mentioned this before. I will sometimes use pronouns of she when talking about Ellie. Bella Ramsey is non-binary. I will try to keep that, but it will get mixed up as I'm switched back and forth between talking about the character and the actors.
Good to know. We'll do our best.
Yeah. So just something to put out there. Hopefully no one gets mad at me. But it was a very good scene for me to be like, oh yeah, we're back.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the Ellie I know, right? Yeah. That little moment of like, you what? I was like, and I failed to do it this time around, but last season we had a FU fuck counter, whatever, for Ellie, for every episode.
Hell yeah.
Because it was so much fun to figure out how many F-bombs is she going to drop.
Yeah.
In the episode. And I think we get 2 or 3 already in this first scene. So it's like, oh yeah. It's like, oh, we're back. And I love their performance of Ellie. I don't care what anyone says. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I think that performance, that moment, that showing, it was just such a good thing to be like, this is the Ellie that I love.
Agree.
But also, you're right. The little bit of foreshadowing of like, she wants to get hit. If she says this thing, something might happen that doesn't pull their punches, And I think that's amazing insight. I think it's also interesting to note that she wants pain. She wants to be knocked out. What is it that she's searching for here? I think that's so. Yeah.
I think this is very interesting because what you said ties into the conversation we were having earlier about Joel.
Yeah.
I think she wants the full truth.
She wants the full truth.
Right?
Yeah.
I think she feels like people are withholding something from her constantly.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
That she's just a kid, that she's this special condition, that she's not from here, right? And that someone always is, right? And so more than winning the fight, she wants to know that she's going toe to toe, like 10 power versus 10 power, turned all the way up, right?
Amazing. Yeah. I think that's definitely showing that exactly what you said. She doesn't like people holding back from her. Whatever that is, right? There's a little bit of masochism there that she wants to feel something, right? And then she just wants honesty. And that's great. All in this one little moment.
Yeah.
Don't pull your punches, right? Yeah, I think we're setting up a few themes for the season.
Oh, it's great, dude. If you didn't watch season 1, would you feel like you kind of know who Ellie is after just watching that scene?
Absolutely,
probably.
Probably. Yeah. Let's move on to our other main character, the guy that's on everyone's mind nowadays, Pedro Pascal.
Oh, that guy.
Been in a few things, right?
1 or 2.
And here he is back as our favorite. Kind of. Southern drawl,
middle-aged problematic daddy. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about Joel, where we find him? He's working on a little trinket, some circuit breakers, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a man. I don't know what any of those things do.
Yeah. I mean, it's like crazy, right? Too, because the girl is like, show me.
Yeah.
And he like opens it up and they're like, I think 98% of your audience has got to be like, oh my God, he's a man who has tools. But like, I don't remember anything he said after that. I'm just like, he must know his shit.
I mean, this was his job, before. And it's noted that he hasn't done anything like this in a while. And it obviously hasn't left him the knowledge. I think it's important to note that he's getting back in that saddle.
Yeah.
Of like, this is my purpose now, my job.
I mean, that's what's interesting, right? Is like one of the most iconic lines for me of season 1 was when his brother, is it Danny? His brother's Joel's brother. I don't remember his name, but when Tommy. Thank you.
You were making me forget for a second. Tommy.
Thank you. But like after they become reunited,
Mm-hmm.
they have like a catch up scene,
Mm-hmm.
just the two of them, some whiskey, but then they get short with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think because Danny is like settled down. He's got a wife who's expecting and has this whole life that he can't leave. And Joel's bitter about it or angry that he's not willing just to pick up his shit and help him get Ellie where she needs to go or whatever, right? And I think he says something like, just because your life stopped doesn't mean that mine did too, or something like that, right? I think that we're seeing Joel try and pick his life back up again, right?
Trying to do the thing that Tess wanted him to do.
I mean, like, not in like he's not doing it well, but like he's trying to be domestic. He's a part of a community. He has a job. He's ostensibly still trying to keep Ellie safe. I think he's trying to be
He's trying to keep everyone safe.
A good uncle,
Yeah.
to his nephew,
Mhm.
right? Like I think he's, as much as a guy like Joel can, participating in society, in the little microcosm society. But yeah, that's kind of like what I saw. I mean, Jesus, he's going to therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely want to get to that scene.
That's the best. That's the best scene of the episode.
Oh, so interesting. So interesting. We're going to talk about that. I will say though, speaking of therapy in this little moment, it is interesting to see Joel not the person that we left, right? In season 1. He is very much, as you said, kind of domesticated, contributing to society, being a functioning person in this commune, you know? If it feels off, it should feel off because this isn't Joel that we know.
Yeah.
Right. I think he feels and looks uncomfortable. Pedro Pascal does so good of just, even in this moment where he's just like locked in, kind of just doing his job and no one's there, he still feels like he shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I think he's giving such an understated performance of like, of this guy who's just like, also feels like he doesn't fit in his own way. A little bit different from Ellie, but yeah.
I'm like almost willing to say he does fit in.
Sure.
I'm kind of like,
And maybe it's too easy.
I'm like, oh, like this is like, it reminded me of like towards the end of season 1.
Yeah.
After they get out of the car, from saving Ellie from the surgery and all this stuff, and they're hiking in the woods. I think he says something, or maybe it's early in the episode. Forget where this happens, but it's towards the end of the season. Basically, he's like, you know what I could use? Some bad puns, right? And it's like, oh,
That's the end of the other. Yeah.
You have fatherly rapport. You know how to have a good time. You know how to like relax and bullshit with somebody. And I'm like, yeah, this is what Joel did with Sarah. Like, this is a rhythm. I don't think that he's incapable of it. I think that he told himself he'd never do it again. So I was seeing his time in this first episode of season 2 in Jackson. I was looking at him and being like, okay, this is Joel trying to open his heart back up a little bit, trying to be like, maybe I am capable of being domestic again. Maybe, he doesn't have a partner, doesn't have his biological daughter, but he's like, my brother's here.
Yeah.
And I got Ellie. That's a family of sorts.
It's possible I could also be bringing my own things into like what I'm thinking about Joel, because I do know that he is potentially uncomfortable in the situation. He's not used to having a teenager. I don't think he ever thought he'd be in the situation.
I mean,
and he feels like he's bad at it.
I'm seeing him trying to assimilate. I'm not saying that he's doing a good job. I'm saying that I'm seeing like a side of him that I'm assuming was what it was like with him and Sarah before the virus broke out. Right. I will say, to your point, I'm not trying to say he doesn't seem uncomfortable. My God, that therapy session, he looks like he's ready to kill himself before he starts talking more. Right? He's profoundly uncomfortable. Absolutely, yes.
I like the scene between Dina and Joel. We don't ever actually really get a scene between Dina and Joel in the game. Like it's two separate characters that it's Ellie's story. And she talks to these two characters typically separately, right? We know Joel and Dina have probably had interactions, as people typically do within this small community, but we've never actually like got to see that relationship, because typically when we see them, they're it's through Ellie's perspective, and they're
Yeah.
separated a lot of times, you
Sure.
know? So it's good to have this scene. And I think it's interesting to like to give us a little bit more of Dina that we never have. I think Isabella Merced, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. She is doing a lot of good work to ingratiate us to her and her character,
Sure.
and especially to like Joel, she, unlike Ellie, is almost making it easier for Joel.
Yeah. Totally.
And I think that's like great for him. I will say her knowledge of therapy is interesting to me, a little bit anachronistic, because she was maybe not even born here, but born after the pandemic. And like, what does she know about therapy? And like,
You mean like she's like, oh my God, you're in therapy? You mean like
she's like, oh, I
she
can't
thinks-
believe you're in therapy. Like it as a knowledge of like, in like the fact that like he's like, don't tell anyone, all that kind of stuff. Like he's coming from a time where like, yeah, men didn't go to therapy and that
For
kind
sure.
of thing, right?
Mhm.
I don't know where we're coming from in this time. Like, how is therapy viewed in this world? And also like, how did you? So it's a little bit of 2025 perspective coming from the character, which is like, but she would not have grown up with the same knowledge of like therapy and like how people view it,
I hear
so it's
that.
a little anachronistic, but I'm willing to get past it. That's why I said I'm not sure like I should mention it, but it is an interesting note for me.
Don't mind you mentioning it
Yeah.
at all. I mean, I don't think you're being a stickler. I received that line
Yeah.
more about her knowledge of who Joel is as a person.
Maybe you're right.
And
yeah.
being like, you were the last motherfucker I thought would go to talk to someone about your feelings.
You know what?
You know what I mean?
I take it all back. I'm glad it's there.
Yeah,
That's absolutely how it should have been.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was more just like, oh my God, fucking emotionally stunted. I never talk about anything. Shut up and go to your room, dad, who's killed who knows how many people, is going to therapy. That's what I thought.
I think it's really important to note, going on with that, and a final touch on this scene is like, what I really love is like we get Dina, who has no perspective of Joel that Ellie has. She has no idea what Joel's done. She probably, she knows he's killed people. I think people know, especially here in this commune, he's had to do things. We get into that with the therapy scene. They've seen him like in certain ways, but they've never seen him the way Ellie has. And we're getting a new perspective from Dina on like who this character is. And she's like, this is a person I can learn from, that like he's kind-hearted or whatever she might think, and he's like talking about his feelings. He's a little vulnerable. That is not the Joel that Ellie has experienced. That is not the Joel that we've experienced,
Totally.
And I think it's lovely to see like how Dina sees him, especially the fact that like she doesn't have to forgive him for anything. She's just already likes him. She already is like, I accept you, And I think that's an interesting perspective to come from, and it especially shows us who Dina is as a character, like how willing she is to just accept these people, especially people that are important to Ellie, even though at this point we don't know their connection or their relationship,
right?
But she's clearly wants to be a part of Ellie's life, and therefore Joel is an important part of that,
Totally.
Anyway, I think the next scene we do have is the therapy scene.
Yeah.
So we should talk about that. Catherine O'Hara showing up.
I love her.
Yeah, go and tell me what you think of this scene. You already kind of mentioned it.
It's so uncomfortable and weird. It's so weird and so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But also I love it because it's like, there's just not a lot of scenes. I mean, so The Last of Us has a lot of extreme circumstances, right? But like, we don't sit and talk about how weird and uncomfortable a thing is very often, if ever. There's usually not time for it, or people suppress it down and choose not to fully explore it, right? And man, I mean, this scene is just like very different and very raw because we're talking about the hard stuff. And it's from a pretty reasonable perspective, right? No one's screaming, no one's yelling, no one's really crying. It's just like someone who really has to clear and get some stuff off their chest. I think it's incredible. I mean, I had no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
When she started being like, do I say it? Should I say it out loud? I shouldn't. I'm afraid to. No, that's why I should say it. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? And I was like, is she like a terrible therapist? Like that she's like worried about the advice or whatever. And then like when she says the thing, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. This is horrible.
To me, that moment is so indicative of the burden that must be on her as the community therapist. Probably the one person. This is like we went through a pandemic.
Yeah.
In real life. You've all been a part of it.
Most of you probably.
And the trauma that we've kind of gone through as a collective has been hard on the mental health industry altogether. Now imagine that in this world and having one therapist. And so she starts talking to herself. I'm like, oh, she's a little bit off, but at the same time, like, who wouldn't be? If you're the one person that people have to rely on and like to tell them the hard truths and all this, and like you also have no way of knowing, like there's I guess like therapists nowadays, they have resources, and things like that.
They have
You're
therapists
on your own
themselves.
now.
Yeah.
You don't have these resources anymore.
I mean, if you're Catherine O'Hara, you have a bottle of whiskey and a bag of pathetic weed.
So honestly, I'm like, putting up with someone like Joel, probably the last thing she probably wants to do, so I understand, but especially with the connection.
Yeah. I mean, we shouldn't beat around the bush, right? Joel is seeing her to try and work through some of his trauma and issues. And it seems like from the episode, the majority of that is frustration around why Ellie isn't kinder to him or more grateful for all he's provided her
teenage
with.
Daughter.
And that her best friend gets me and is nice to me, but why isn't she, right?
Yeah.
And Catherine O'Hara kind of just like shuts him up and is like, can we not talk about the most boring fucking problem that every fucking parent who has a child Ellie's age has and actually say some real shit here? Which is like, something a therapist would never say, right? And also, I kind of want to say this PSA. If you've never been to therapy and you watch this episode, this isn't how therapy goes.
If my therapist...
extremely unprofessional. This is not the point of therapy. This wouldn't be good for therapy. It's television. It's not good therapy.
Right.
But it's really good entertainment.
If my therapist used an egg timer and I could hear it during the entire session, that's like waterboarding, I feel like.
But conversely, if you were paying your therapist with a bag of shitty weed, can you expect much better? I don't know.
I love this character and how blunt.
Yes, but basically, just to get to the point, if you're listening but you haven't seen the episode, Catherine O'Hara is basically like, I'm going to say some real shit to you and you need to hear this. And she struggles with whether or not she's going to say it or not. And she gets to a place where she's like, I need to say this. And she's like, I resent you. No, it's worse than that. I hate you because you killed my husband. And I know that you probably did it because you had to and that there was justifiable reasons. But she's like, I don't care. I've tried to forgive you for it. I've tried to work past it and I can't. And I need you to know that I really hate you.
Specifically, she mentions it's the way you did it.
Yeah.
Right? And it leaves a lot to the imagination, right? Because one, there's very few reasons why you would have to, right? In this world. One of those being like, he was probably bitten. He was probably infected. There's probably not very many other reasons, especially for Eugene, who is a beloved member of the community.
I wanted to ask you too.
Yeah.
She does say the name Eugene. For someone who's played the game, does that mean anything?
Eugene does mean something. We never see him.
Okay.
So we do we'll get into it. Eugene is a character that is talked about but never seen. He's an interesting character. What's important is that I don't know if they're going to show this in episode 2. There's questions on how they change things around. I don't know if they're kind of like changing this, but when we see Eugene's like weed thing, we stumble upon his stash and it's huge. It's like a huge farm, like underground, and it's Dina and Ellie that stumble upon it, and that's like the most we kind of get of Eugene, right?
Okay.
Gail doesn't exist as a character in the video game.
Oh,
this therapy session doesn't exist in the video game. So it's interesting to me that you really, really like it. Because again, this is an added thing, which I also really loved. I think Catherine O'Hara, amazing in this role. But I do think we get an idea and a sense of the fact that like Eugene, at the very least, from most people's perspective, was somewhat beloved, right?
Yeah.
At least by this person, right? And again, to have to kill someone is one thing. The way you did it, that's what she has a problem with.
It really makes me wonder, because you came up with, so he was probably infected. That didn't even occur to me. When she said the way you did it, I was like, ooh, what the fuck?
Here's the thing. What do we know? I don't think that. Now, here's what I've heard. Spoiler alert. Apparently, there's an actor that's been cast as Eugene.
Oh, okay.
So I guess we're going to get more of that.
Yeah.
Get a flashback and maybe get into it, whatever that might be.
Okay.
So that will be interesting. Sure, we'll get more. So right now, though, we're in speculation territory. What do we know of Joel? If someone's mad at the way you do something, that tells me that Joel did it in the most Joel way, which is heartless, cold, and pragmatic to a certain sense.
Probably unilaterally.
Yeah.
I don't think he, most of the time when Joel does something big and drastic like that, he doesn't poll the room and get input.
I would say without empathy.
Yeah.
Without empathy for Gail or Eugene, right? Because as we've seen with his conversation about the people coming in, the possible refugees and that kind of thing, he would not give them a place. He would keep them out and keep our people in. And it's like, it's us versus them, right? And so when something like that happens, that's what we're led to imagine is like, what would be the thing that Joel would do that someone would be so hateful towards you about the way you did it, right? We all live in this world. We all understand. We can justify someone gets infected. They can't be around. We get it, but it's the way you did it, Joel. And we know who Joel is. So that tells me he used a lot less empathy than he would for, other people.
Pretty fair assumption.
And I think that's the way that's delivered, the way it's written, the performance of it, it tells us a lot about where Joel still is, that there are times where he still relies on those old habits.
Yeah. Because this is also for clarity, for plot wise, if you didn't watch it or you weren't following closely, right? It's like, we are 5 years later at the beginning of the episode-ish, right? Yeah. But Catherine O'Hara says at the beginning of the therapy session, she's drinking. She pours herself a glass of whiskey. It looks like whiskey. Yes. She says, because this is my first birthday without my husband.
So at least less than a year.
So exactly. This happened in the last year, right? So as much as like that title card 5 years later might lead us to believe Joel hasn't killed anybody other than maybe infected in 5 years. It's like, well, he did something pretty gnarly in the last 365 days. And again, maybe he was infected, but it doesn't sound like he was, like you're saying, particularly thoughtful or empathetic.
I think it would be a different conversation if he killed him if he wasn't infected. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's a reason for him doing it. I think in times of war, the only reason for doing something like that is if someone's so gone that a doctor can't fix it, then you put him out of their misery. And I think the only equivalent to that would be infected, right? I don't think Gail would be talking to this human being if there was any other reason, right? There's got to be a justification for the killing.
Yes.
It has to be that he was infected, right?
That sounds reasonable. That didn't pop into my mind, but that totally makes sense. Yeah. I will say, too, we didn't talk about it. So we've been framing this, right? In this therapy session, therapist goes, stop bullshitting me. I've been doing this long enough to know you're lying to me or leaving something big out.
Yeah.
So why don't I tell you the thing I've been leaving out? You killed my husband and I hate you for it. And you tell me the thing you're leaving out. And then she says, you killed my husband. I hate you for it. I can't forgive you. And I'm sorry. And I wish I could, but I can't. But then she makes, I would say, a really sincere ask. Tell me whatever the thing is. Let me know. And we can work through this together. We can try and we can make it better. Right. I think, Joel doesn't really respond. He's like, what? And she's probing. She's like, what did you do to her? Did you hurt her, Ellie? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And Joel's like, no, he's getting choked up, but he's very stammering. He looks wildly uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he's got a tear coming down his cheek and he says, I saved her.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think this all ties back to the stuff we were talking about at the beginning of the
Same
episode,
question.
right? Which is like,
did Joel do the right thing?
Right. Is that like, but also the impossibility of that question to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if he tells Catherine O'Hara, well, when I saved Ellie, it's because she's immune and there was a group of scientists that might think she's the key to curing, the virus or not the virus, the fungal infestation, whatever, right? I mean, as much as Catherine O'Hara says, trust me, we can do it, right? Is she not going to be like, oh, we need to get this girl to a hospital now and fix her? Because, and also, fuck this guy. This cure probably could have saved her infected husband that we just talked about, right? I mean, it's very complicated for Joel, right?
It's very complicated. I think
this is why he's such a tragic character, right? Because like the nature of Ellie's condition
mm-hmm.
and the fact that that's essentially a secret now because he killed most of the people that knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Means that he also can't get the help or closure or catharsis he needs to start moving past it because he's constantly living with either the denial to acknowledge what he did with Ellie or the fact that he needs to continue keeping the secret in order to protect her. He's pretty stuck.
He is, I think that answer and looking back on it of reminding us about what he actually did, as well as giving us a story beforehand, just shows us kind of where he is in terms of like all those things that he does. Like it connects the dots for us, and the fact that like him saying like I saved Ellie is like him. It's a justification,
and it's not wrong. He did,
yeah. But again,
it's just not the full story.
It's the way you did it,
yeah.
And that's the connection for me.
Yeah,
it's like we can say that like what you did, Joel, is fine. You killed my husband. You saved Ellie. It's the way you did it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the connection we're supposed to make there. I think that's the point. Is like switch out Ellie with Eugene.
Yeah.
And that's what she's getting at. Is like whatever it is that you did. Okay. But how did you do it? And I think he can't face that. Right?
That's so
he can't face the way he does things.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it until you started talking about it.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that.
I think that to me, that's the connection.
That's super cool.
It's not, maybe he saved Ellie. It's the way he did it though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's, we gotta move. So we could talk about this scene all day.
I know. I
think it's great. Catherine O'Hara, I love her. Great addition to this.
Yeah. We get more scenes with her.
She's funny too. Like there's, and here's the thing. It's like, I know like last time we really seen her, she's also in The Studio. You should watch that. But, and like last time we seen her was like Schitt's Creek and everything. And she's a comedic actress. Just amazing work in this. Like, this is an all timer for Catherine. If she doesn't get nominated for something, I don't know who will, because she's giving us everything.
I will say this too. Yeah. Like, right. If you create this role, you're telling me that role doesn't even exist in the video game.
Not in the game.
And you have a character like Joel who like holy fucking shit needs therapy, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like the Sopranos conceit almost, right? It's like you get to watch this person who's making these wild choices have to sit down in a room with a therapist and kind of wrangle with it. So I hope / suspect we're going to get at least 1 or 2 more therapy scenes over the course of the season. I hope.
Yeah, probably. Let's see. We got Patrol.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we have a scene with Tommy and a few other like small scenes. We don't have to get in it. I mean, Tommy's back. They have a kid. The kid's a new addition, I will say.
So cute.
They didn't have the kid. There was no uncle thing, but it is, again, important distinction. It's like there's people that are now born into this world in Jackson who have no idea about the outside world, right? He's like, in here are people and out there are monsters,
Mhm.
right? This is what we're teaching the youngsters, right? Also, how do you like restart life? How do you restart? Like Joel's struggling with like not only like therapy and like teenager stuff, but like how do we do a community anymore? Who do we let in? What do we do? How do we get, like it's a hard thing to decide a lot of the stuff, council stuff.
Yeah, especially for Joel,
Yeah.
whose MO has his whole life has been like take care of number one,
Yeah.
and fuck everybody else. No room for anybody else.
Yeah.
And the whole MO of the commune is save everybody.
Yeah.
It's just,
Because why? Because, if you can, right? If you have the resources, which no people do, and most of these people have seen the outside world, and they're creating like a new life. And it's interesting because we're gonna see these kids. There's teenagers like Ellie and Dina who have to learn how to like switch into a different thing, right? We have adults who know what the world was like before, and so they kind of understand it, and they're trying to like, I guess, get back to normal, but the teenagers don't know what normal is, right? So they don't know exactly like the purpose of that whole thing, right? They know what this is. And then you have like kids who are growing up in this commune that know none of those things, right? Like, and all these like, I think it's always such an interesting thing. It's like a thought experiment of like how this kind of works as like a world building exercise. I just like love thinking about it. I don't think we have time to really like get into. We'll probably learn more about it later, but
no doubt.
that's a whole thing. That's as much as I'll say about that.
For sure.
There's so much we could talk about. Let's skip to the patrol, I think, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing. We get it Jesse's there giving his like speech to the patrol and telling them to go out and like how it's going to be done, and we get a little bit of like sarcastic questions from the two teenagers, right?
Should we fill out our forms and dot our I's and cross our T's?
Yeah,
or
we should
whatever it
definitely
was.
do all the things that you're going to tell us to do. We've been through the process,
One of the weirdest line deliveries in the episode actually is Jesse.
Yeah.
When he's just like, hey, seriously, all joking aside, can you two like try and take this more seriously?
Yeah.
People look up to you for some fucking reason. And he like, there's like this like trail off. He's like, for some fucking reason. It's really funny and weird. I loved it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think looking at the crowd that we're talking to and looking at them is like, it is interesting. I think it is a weird thing that we're right now. First off, they don't have anyone else that can go out and patrol but kids,
19-year-olds.
and the person that's in charge is also a kid,
Yeah.
and it's also such a small community that of course everyone's been with each other. Ellie's been with Kat.
Yeah.
We know Dina's been with Jesse.
Yep.
We don't know what's going on there, but we have those like all of that in this like scene,
Yeah.
It's like we're putting our lives in kids. As a person that's prior military, this is the kind of experience I come away with a lot. We put a lot of responsibility on 18 and 19-year-olds to handle full aircraft carriers, planes, things like that. Like
Guns.
we're putting a lot and like, whatever. And so it's not that foreign to me, but I think it's interesting that for this kind of commune that like we would want our kids to be kids, but they've clearly have known other resources that is like, and of course these two jokers are the ones that everyone has to rely on and look up to, So it's either a good thing that they're putting their trust in the new generation, or it's a very, it shows like how little resources they really have,
Yeah. I mean, I think it can be both, right? It's like, I mean, post-military, you settle down, you pair up, you have a kid, you do the more domestic stuff. So it's like, I get why they're looking for relatively younger people for it. But yeah, I mean, also I think it's just as indicative of not just the military aspect you're referring to, but also it's like, it's a small town. I think like everybody does a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So they go on patrol. They don't listen to Kat.
So frustrating to me.
It's a little frustrating. I feel bad for Kat.
I'm so sick of Ellie just not fucking listening to people who have experience tell her what to do.
Well, does Kat have experience? Because we don't know, because they're the same age
She's been on patrol a bunch.
I don't know why Kat's in charge, to be fair,
I think Kat's correct that they shouldn't wander into an abandoned, potentially infested building.
Yeah, probably.
I think Kat's making a great call. Yeah. I think they have pretty strict orders that they're like 1, maybe 2, fine. Any more than that, you're supposed to go back, tell the others. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly not what they did.
Right. I'm surprised that they included the scene of going out and going into the market or whatever.
Yeah.
Mostly because like in the game, it's basically the tutorial.
Oh, okay.
So there's not too much that happens. It gets you a little bit of like the relationship between Ellie and Dina. In the game, you're obviously like getting back into the groove of like what the game is and like learning the new mechanics and stuff, It's like, okay, yeah, they're still infected out there, right?
And I would guess, again, haven't played the game, but it also seems like there's part of the scene is very tutorial-esque in that they're like, no guns, stab them up.
Yeah.
It's silent. We'll be quiet and like outsmart them or think them. It's like teaching you that like, hey, stealth is rewarded in this game.
Yeah. I think that's part of it is like, hey, we can't just do an episode without infected, so let's have some infected. Yeah, I think obviously it shows us like how close and tight knit Dina and Ellie are, that they both encourage each other, and there's another word for it, but like
support,
that and they're really in sync,
Yeah.
Ellie's still in that way, like joking about things, even whenever she's doing
infuriating,
whatever. Then I realized why the scene existed, and that's when she falls through and is alone and in the market, and we get our introduction to what we don't know what to call it, but based on the game, is a stalker.
Yeah.
This is a new infected made for the game. Doesn't come as early in the game.
Very creepy.
But I'm glad that they included it here because one, it shows us something new.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. Tells us a little bit more about Ellie in the world, things like that. Very, very interesting. I want to hear your thoughts because I definitely have some.
Yeah.
That ties back into what we were talking about before. But yeah, what do you think of this new development?
I hate it. Dude, I mean, dude,
like chills down your body, hate it kind of thing. Or?
Not like maybe, but like I think that like. Everything about the Cordyceps infected so far is like, like maybe some of them are a little quicker than average or whatever, but there's no like cunning. It's always like see target, run and scream at target, right? And this is the first time we meet an infected that like hunts, right? That like knows how to evade. That has the perception of being seen, right? I hate that. That's very much scarier to me.
Oh yeah, no,
much more dangerous.
And I think the scene is really scary,
horrifying, right? I mean, it's like
the way that the actress they find these people, and again, the game has reference, right? People they've already figured out what these things move and sound like or whatever, but finding an actress that can actually do that, like the way that she made those grunting noises without like opening her mouth or whatever was like so like I was just like chilled.
Yeah, because it's like have you ever seen Annihilation?
Yes. Yeah, I love it.
It reminded me of some of the stuff in Annihilation where like when you're looking at the infected, you're like you can tell this is not human, like anymore. It's like it has some human formness, but like. No, there are mutated things and it's moving in a creepy way. But then every now and then it kind of screams and whimpers and it sounds like a little girl. And you're like, no.
The bear is the scariest thing ever put on cinema.
Similarly, right? If you haven't seen Annihilation, spoiler alert, right?
It makes then the same thing. The stalker doesn't feel like any other infected, right? Oh my God, is that uncanny?
No,
so good. The stalkers are part of the game to kind of elevate, to give you something new as far as like enemy types, right? Because you can't just do a new game and like not give you something new, right?
Fine.
In this way, like they kind of make it part of the world in terms of like, hey, something's happening. They're like evolving or they're changing. Like we've never encountered this before. more importantly, and this is the thing that I wanted to bring up, I was like, I think we finally get to drive the point home that we've been trying to drive with Ellie, is that she may be immune, she's not invulnerable.
Correct.
And
she can't get the virus. She can get stabbed to death.
And she used
killed.
to think that she was invulnerable. She was going through the past few scenes, the past 5 years, probably thinking like, I know what to expect. I've killed plenty of these. This is not scary to me. I'm also immune. She's not telling people that, but like, she's like, I have nothing to fear. Like, I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
You know? And in one way, we're all teenagers. We believe we're immortal, you know? And in some ways, like Ellie is quite literally in this world immortal, you know? She's immune to it. Right. And this shows her that she's not she's very vulnerable, that she can still lose it, that she doesn't know everything.
Yeah.
That I think that's what is so important about this scene, not just to give us something new, scary to think about and talk about or whatever.
Yeah.
But like Ellie needed to encounter this because otherwise she goes into the market without thinking.
100%.
You know?
And I mean, to me, the frustration for me was also like, if your friend falls through that hole in the ceiling floor instead of you, she does die. She for sure is.
You
dead,
got bit,
right?
Ellie.
Yeah, you literally got bit.
Yeah,
Like,
it could have been Dina. You know, the
Totally.
person you have a crush on.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to show that to Ellie and to us that she's not immune.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing too, right? Every teenager thinks they're invincible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I'm hoping, right? Because like we've seen so many people protect Ellie and like bail her out when she does dangerous things, when she doesn't listen, when she doesn't play by the rules. And it's almost always goes poorly. And then, someone bails her out. But I'm like, now she's 19 and she's still doing this shit. This is what I was saying at the beginning of the episode. I really hope, because I care about Ellie. I'm like, I really hope that she gets the message, because I'm not gonna feel that bad for her if she keeps behaving like this and something terrible happens. Mm-hmm. At some point, she's got to become an adult and be like, I'm not invincible. And these older people who have lived through this shit before me must know more than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is hopefully the start.
Yeah.
For her, Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good scene, very scary, and shows a lot about Ellie. Any more that you wanted to say about the scene or anything like that? Yeah.
I mean, just that like the nerd in me is like, oh, so now I want to know what all the classes of infected are. Because we have the generically infected. Yeah. We have the clickers with the crazy head.
Yep.
We have, what do they call, stalkers in the game?
Yeah, so
right?
there's runner, which is the generic.
Right.
There's the clickers.
Yep.
There's the stalker, which is new for the game. But then we also have bloaters.
Also,
which is,
the super dudes.
That's the bloater.
Yeah, the big uns, right? Which we only see one of in season 1.
I might be getting things confused. We are, if I could be a little spoilerific, there's another one. There's another type that we might see.
Well, this is what I want. It's like the nerd in me is just like, oh, what else is down there? Like
in the first game, we only got 3. We add 2 or 3 more into the second game, right? So
I think there's one other thing about the episode that we have to talk about personally.
I mean, we're still going to talk about the episode, but in this scene, right?
Oh, in the scene.
Yeah. Or with any of this, they go back to the council. They talk about it.
Yeah,
I thought the council scene was fine. That's an addition. Again, it wasn't part of the game because
I don't think you needed that scene at all.
Probably not. I guess we see like how they're running things, and
there's
a little bit. I love the little moment of like Tommy saying a thing, and then like, what did he say? It was like, oh, Ellie's like, oh, you do. If it were you and Joel, you do it, because she knows what him and Joel would do.
Yep.
She knows how they were when the epidemic first happened, because Joel told her, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, that was different. And then like his wife is like, is it?
Yeah.
Is it different?
I mean,
I like that moment.
My favorite part about it is when the 2 young girls leave, and then what's Tommy's wife's name again?
I'm forgetting now.
Okay. Anyways, but the council's like, do y'all believe any of that? And she was like, I believe what Ellie says, but Dina wasn't fucking there and didn't see a thing.
That's great.
I was like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah. We put these trusts in these teenagers, but we're not stupid. essentially.
Yeah,
You
totally.
know?
I appreciated that.
Yeah, it's real interesting. Some fun stuff there. Probably could have done without it, but it's fun. Little
Yeah.
character things, right?
Totally.
We're learning more about how Jackson does things, you know? We see Ellie cleaning a gun. Joel comes by to talk about like fixing the guitar. We can see there's tension there.
Yep.
We already kind of know what's going on there. Again, I don't know if there's anything kind of new that we haven't really talked about. Because again, I've already played the game, so I might also forget what is there and is not, you know? So,
I mean, all that stuff is pretty. I don't have much to say. It's like, all right, and here's your petulant teenage daughter, and
I think
dad who doesn't know how to emotionally connect with you, but
Yeah.
wants nothing more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting to it then is the main scene, the one that we're here for, the dance.
The dance.
The dance. What did you think of this scene?
It's weird.
Weird in what way?
I think it's like it made me uncomfortable in a way I didn't think it was going to make me uncomfortable, because like
uncomfortable, like Seth was uncomfortable, or
no, but kind of related to that, and okay. I need to come out and say what it is, because I don't want to lead anybody on here. I had just kind of assumed that we were in like, a progressive little commune where like, okay, there's a bunch of folks, we survived or whatever. And then Ellie and Dina are dancing and they start making out a little. And there's like an old man who basically is like, first of all, I think he starts by like telling them not here. This is like a family place or something.
Yeah.
But then he calls them a slur. And I was like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, wait. So there's people in this commune. The commune is not like on the same page about whether or not same-sex attraction is okay, which is fucking crazy to me in 2025, the year of our Lord. Or when we're in 2029, is it?
Yeah.
And
it's a new year. It's a New Year's Eve. Yeah.
And I get it that there's, probably conservative folks out there. But I'm like, after everything that happened, you still give a shit about this? I was just kind of like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. Very weird to me. And also because I guess the episode makes it clear that there are, well, I don't know if we've met any gay men in this commune. I know season 1, yes. But in Jackson, I think we've heard about a lot of lesbian encounters, right?
We've at least heard that like Ellie was with Kat before.
Right.
That's it, I think.
Oh, okay.
I don't recall if there's...
Well, no, she says something, but she's like, oh, that's not your type. Or like, you're into another one. I think she says like, she alludes that Ellie has had a couple different crushes, at least. Like there's not like, she's crushing on a fair amount of girls, at least is what I remember.
Sure. Whether or not Seth is understandable or knows that or whatever is interesting. I think this comes from an individual perspective and not a commune perspective, right?
But I'm like, I can't even believe that's permitted in the commune, that they wouldn't be like, dude, get with it or get out.
Yeah, I don't know if they knew about Seth before this happened, right? Mm-hmm. Because I don't know how, I think finding love is difficult in this world. Finding people that you're with and, you're teenagers, like you don't not everyone knows like your business, and it's kind of secret, kind of not already as is, much less the fact that like if there are people still out there that think that this is taboo or whatever, that it's even more of a secret. So I don't know how much of that is coming from, again, our 2025 perspective or their 2029 after 30 years of this kind of perspective. Like what does the world still believe in 30 years since, like if this is still kind of taboo or not, or whatever. But at the very least, old man, he's lived in a time even before their pandemic.
Yep.
And coming from a time where even before then, lived through gay rights, civil rights, or whatever. When obviously, like he's got some opinions.
Yeah.
I will say, like, it's not as before this. I don't remember in the game if there was a slur thrown out.
Yeah.
I should have looked that up and remembered, but I don't. Before then, it's not quite as harsh.
Yeah.
You could almost be like, it's not homophobia if it, like the way that he says it. It's like it's just a family event, so don't be making out on the dance floor with whoever it is, right? I
Right.
guess, you
It
know,
wa-
but
like,
then
it-
the slur happens.
Exactly.
Right?
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I mean, like
Yeah.
the girls might have known it was homophobia, but to me as an audience member, it was just like, "Hey, get a room."
Yeah.
And then it became, "Oh no, I don't approve of this anywhere."
Yeah.
So definitely not here. And I was like, "Oh wow, okay,
Yeah.
big bummer."
Um,
I mean, and then in Pedro, Joel,
yeah.
lays him out.
I don't want to get I don't want to skip over the importance of the scene in general, right? Which is like Ellie, we know that at this point that Ellie has a crush on Dina.
Yes, it's very clear. There's
been very clear
when they were going out on like the recon, like Ellie gets all and she's like helping her fix her,
helping her fix her
gear
jacket
and
and
stuff.
her gear and
Yeah.
everything like that. Like she's, she turns very much into Joel. There's moments in the episode where they're like, oh, you're the same people, you're just like Joel, and I think Ellie would hate to hear that, as most kids would hate to hear that they're like their parents. That said, not his real daughter, so whatever, Ellie, right?
Totally.
But it is very much like that scene. And moving on, is like when she thinks it interacts with Dina or whatever, she turns into Joel, and there are times where she's so purely Ellie, but when she gets nervous and when she gets embarrassed or whatever, she's definitely channeling
Kind of the same person.
Yeah. You know, I think it's hard for me to talk about this scene, in the sense that like, I just love it. From the moment that they're like, she's watching Dina dance to Dina coming over. I don't remember if the Jesse interaction was there. That's a fun moment. Dina coming over and taking a drink of that. Like, again, their little dynamic, that triple thing. I mean, if you didn't get the idea, Dina and Jesse have dated.
Yeah, for sure.
Have
dated on and off. It seems like they keep getting back together, breaking up, getting back together, breaking up.
So this whole like triangle thing or whatever, and she knows like Dina's straight. Ellie doesn't know anything about Dina. So it's so important that this finally happens. And like, Dina has to take the reins there, because Ellie's not going to do it. The same way that like Ellie knows that Joel's not going to do certain things unless she does it, unless people pull it out from her legs. In this way, like, Dina had to pull it out of Ellie.
Totally.
Again, same fucking person, the similarities there are wild, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had never thought of it in this context, like how similar it is to Joel's behavior, but that's very interesting.
Yeah. The scene, while probably not shot for shot, beat for beat from the moment they start dancing, exactly from the game.
No way.
So
That's beautiful. Wow.
And there's very few times where they do this, right? In the first season, the scene in the little girl's bedroom, Ellie's reading the journal. They have their little fight, and she says, a thing, and Joel's like, yeah, you're right, you're not my daughter, and I'm not your father. Very much beat for beat, moment for moment from the game, almost shot for shot. The ending of the season, beat for beat, shot for shot. You know that one, right? This is very similar, right? And I think this is where adaptations get hard, because it's like, do you just do the thing? Do you just do it exactly? Do you change it? And they're like, nope, we can't change this. I think it's important. And I love that moment.
That's cool.
There's the actresses, Shannon Woodward and not Laura Bailey, the other person who plays Ellie.
Bella Ramsey.
No. Shannon Woodward plays Dina in the video game.
Oh, you mean the original Ellie? Yes.
And,
sorry.
The actress, which I'm forgetting, for another D&D person.
Can't help you.
The actresses who played Dina and Ellie in the first game, like, do that scene so well, and it's a hard thing. It's one of those things, like, it's hard to like live up to. And I think Bella and Isabel kill it.
Yeah.
They absolutely knock it out of the park. I felt uncomfortable because I'm like in this like intimate moment with these two people, and I shouldn't be, but I love it because for Ellie, like it's her kind of getting what she wants, but also like doesn't know what's like actually coming. And then Isabel taking the control, or Dina, being and be like, that line, I think they should be terrified of you. Like, she doesn't even know what Ellie's gone through. She knows nothing about Ellie. And the thing about to hear again, Dina being so accepting of other people in the way that she knows it. She's like, I know you. I know who you are. Doesn't matter your past. Doesn't matter these things. She's like, I can see you. I see you right now. That's what that tells.
Yeah.
And to be loved is to be fully known, is what a mentor once told me.
Sure.
Right. And like that is essentially like the equivalent of like saying I love you, which Ellie just has not had this kind of thing in a long time. And I think it's such a beautiful,
or ever, right?
Yeah.
It's like this is like, for me, the beauty of the scene was that I was like, this is the kind of the win that Ellie actually needs, right? I think Ellie thinks she wants to be the best scout and the best shot and like the best at like wrestling and knife work and all this stuff. And it's like, no, dude, what you really need is just someone to like be like, I love you. You're awesome. And it's like, and also we know that she hasn't really gotten that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Joel's trying very hard, but not in the right ways, right? And then like her first best friend / potential first love interest, was it Riley, right?
Yeah.
Right. She got like opened the first chapter and then it was over, right? So I was like, I was like, oh, this is a good win for her. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't last very long.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It is unfortunate, but that's the world that they live in, right? Like even here in the safe space, in the relative like a plainness that is Jackson, we still have to deal with monsters of different kind.
I mean, arguably not a safe space, right?
Yeah. So and then Joel does the thing, right? Joel comes now.
Joel does Joel
in it a lot less harsh in this one. I think in the game he punches.
Yeah, he just kind of like pushes him and he falls over.
Yeah, he's an old man. I guess that was enough, right?
Yeah.
So and it doesn't matter to Ellie. It's like it's the principle of the fact that he's protecting her when she doesn't need it, right? And she and it's feeding into the tension that's already there between her and Joel. And now everyone knows it.
Yep.
Right? It's like we kind of knew. We like these two people came from I don't know what people actually know of Joel and Ellie's relationship. It's really interesting to think about. Do they know that she's not his daughter? Like it's like to be in public and to see like the perspective of everyone else, like of seeing this kind of thing. I can imagine that's really awkward for a lot of people,
Yeah.
Like this is not how things are supposed to go, but especially for Ellie, like don't hold your punches. Don't do that. Right. The way that she's like, don't protect me is the same way I think she does it earlier. And you called out very smartly and rightly. So it's like, she wants honesty and she doesn't want this stuff, right. I don't know what I'm getting at, but like, yeah,
it's a tough scene, right?
Yeah.
But in general, it's like, because it's like, as much as I'm complaining about Ellie being a little petulant or know-it-all, it's like she's a lovely, charming character, and fucking awesome, and she's a badass, right? And I think I'm assuming most people watch this and like we're like, oh, she's finally getting a big W. Like she's got this best friend who's smoking hot, and oh, she's into her too, and sees her for who she is. It's not even just like all right, we can fuck around. It's like, no, like she gets Ellie, and then it gets interrupted, and then Ellie spirals. It's just like, oh, not the way we wanted the New Year's party to end. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the way that anyone wanted it to end. Now, New Year's is interesting. I'd be curious to see if they play into that anymore. I don't remember it being a New Year's party the first time. It's just a general party, you know, that this happened. But yeah, it's tough, I think, because if anyone coming back to the show is like, okay, so we like Ellie is being angsty and, being a teenager, possibly, everyone's been saying is like, what, it's just a 19-year-old doing a thing. Like, what do you have a problem with, Joel? Right. He's just being he just needs to kind of get over it, you know? It's like, this is the moment where we're like, nope, something else is wrong. This is more, right? If you came into this season being like, I want more Joel and Ellie, you're not getting it right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, oh no, what happened? I obviously already know. I'm curious to see how this plays out, you know. But that's the first moment where you're like, this is bigger than we thought, you know. And I feel bad for the people that are like, oh, I just wanted these days to be happy and together, and was like, you can't. Things are complicated, things are real, and it's hey, we're in it now, you know. So yeah, very, very tough scene to see these two in this place, to see where they're at, and the fact that like she's not being very forgiving of Joel anymore, you know. She's not being very accepting of Joel right now.
It's hard, man. I feel
because in the
bad.
past, and he has multiple times done this exact same thing for her in various ways. And she was perfectly fine with it before.
I mean, most of the time she's grateful. Most of the time she appreciates it, right?
Yeah.
It's strange. Her reaction does not even feel proportionate, right?
Yeah.
Like it's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's also so sad for me. It's like, I think of like, you know, like my parents when they tried to like help me or do something for me that I didn't like, you know, and you like pop off on them and are telling to fuck off, or you know, whatever, or you know, whatever terrible thing you say that's ungrateful. It's like, when you think back on those moments, it's just like, ugh, I feel so bad for my parents.
Yeah.
Must be so hard being a parent, just because like the literally only thing he wants is for her to love him. he's like very clearly trying to protect her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a moment. I wonder when it's going to happen for Ellie, where you're like, oh, my parents are human, right? You know, like they were just like I'm older than my mom was when she had me, and like knowing that she was a single mother going through things that I probably put her through. It was like, man, I wouldn't have been ready at her age to like
No way.
do like handle 3 kids on her own. You know, yeah. I don't know if Ellie will ever get that. You know, it'll be interesting to see. But I think that's a distinction to be made here. It's like, she's not seeing Joel for, you know, who he is anymore, right? And I think that it's also important that Gail's there and she clocks it. And you said, I hope we get more therapy sessions. Probably. And now she knows, like, hey, you are still lying to me, Joel. Because clearly this is going beyond regular teenage angst. I already called you out on it. I already said this. Like, this is not just her, Ellie, being a teenager. This is something else. Why is she so mad at you? That's the question, right? We get 2 very small scenes before we end out the episode. One, Joel with the guitar that he's been fixing or fixed, you know, and Ellie comes up and she goes straight to her room. You know, I think I'll just leave it at that. And then, well, I should mention, it's like, we get the fireworks and the mushroom thing, you know, and we're alluding to the fact that a horde is coming, right? Because the mushrooms know that people are here.
This is what I think, right? Is that like, because there's like a scene at the very beginning of the episode where they crack a pipe open. It's like full of branches or something. Yeah. And it's like, oh man, they linger on this shot way too long for it to not to mean anything. Yeah. And then one of the last shots of the episode is back to the pipe. There's a little red like Cordyceps sensors reaching through the branches in the pipe. And I'm like, okay.
And we know the network is large.
We're fucked somewhere.
Ground, you know? Yeah. Or interesting because again, this is a show invention. The Cordyceps being like underground and being like a network or whatever, you know, is kind of a thing. So it does give some justification. I will, you know, spoiler alert, there's a horde coming. I probably shouldn't have mentioned that, but it is, you know, and this is just a justification for that. Like they're foreshadowing that,
sure.
You know? How that takes place, obviously, I won't say.
I wondered too, because you said horde. I was thinking because it was in a pipe, I was just like, oh, I wonder if it's going to poison their water supply again.
Right.
Or something like that.
That would also be a very scary thing. Like if they're going to use the pipe at all,
That's what I mean.
Which it seems like they can't, which is why they abandoned it. Like whatever. I thought it was a fire hazard because I was like sitting there thinking, it's like, oh, that's very, very nice of them to allow everyone to have sparklers in the middle of this town, like with basically no supervision, because like a fire can just happen. That doesn't seem like a very good thing to happen in a community like this,
Mm-hmm.
So the sparkler landed and was next to the pipe, and I was not thinking about mushrooms. I was like, fuck, is something gonna catch fire? That's new. I don't know. I was like, that's just the person in me. It's like, no fun. Don't have fun. You can't.
Don't be reckless.
But that is so yeah, it is interesting. It's like if you establish this, like, can that be like possibly infect people? Probably, but as we know about the network, I think it's less. I think you still have to be bitten, right? I think it's more of like the fact is the network is there, and they did foreshadow it before. They know that there's a horde out there. There's something happening because there's some infected, but there's more gathering somewhere, like
That's
or whatever Tommy said. He's like, I've been seeing them come down this road. They keep coming from the same place.
Yep.
So there's clearly something happening. So I'm not saying it's that big of a spoiler, but I think that's what that shot is. It's just to show us that, like, hey, something big is going to come, and now they know that people are here, right?
Encroaching dread. I get it. Yeah.
But it does not show us a horde, which is a very big, cool bait and switch. It's like the next visual is like footsteps, and like, oh, is it runners or whatever?
Yeah.
It's like, nope, it's Abby and the gang, and they have finally found Joel. Potentially at this point, also 5 years later, they look a little bit different.
Mhm.
We see from the trailer shots too that they all have a little bit different hairstyles and stuff, a little bit older, things like that. So they've been searching for a long time, and they don't know, but we know that what Abby's there for, and that they finally found.
To kill Joel slowly,
which
is not pleasant. Yeah. I mean, I feel like they must know Joel's there.
They're there for a reason, and I think there's.
I don't think you'd wind up there unless you were like had a lead that this is where he is.
Again, very interesting that they would even tell us this outright, because we don't know when we first meet Abby, which is kind of in a similar situation as like in this snowy, like she's outside the town, and this whole group is there, and we know they're there for a reason, and they're wary of the town and stuff like that, but we don't know exactly why they are there. We kind of put together context clues, and eventually it comes to a head, right? Are you excited to see Abby at this point? Are you excited to see this showdown?
Honestly, no. Right? It's like it's gonna be bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not worried about like Joel and Abby in combat.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that Abby knows what happened with the Fireflies, and so this facade that is very, very like poorly, barely standing up of Joel having rescued Ellie, right? He's gonna come crashing down, because if they try and kill Joel, unless it's like super silent, stealth in the night, slit his throat and get out, it's like people are going to want to know, like, why are you trying to kill this guy? And then they're going to tell him. And then not only is everyone going to hate Joel, but everyone's going to have big opinions about Ellie. So, yeah, I think it's going to be very stressful interpersonal drama. Yeah. I think that when human beings are in survival mode, they make bad decisions or tough decisions. And I think that it's going to be real awkward. Yeah.
I don't know why, but it's just this final moment, this thing just reminds me of the thing that Joel said, was telling his nephew. People are inside, outside the walls are monsters. And that is, in this case, very much true, not just in the zombie infected way, but in the people that are out there that are constantly not wanting you to be around anymore. So
I mean, I'm like, it's interesting though, because I think that like without the cold open, I'd be like, yeah, who are these fucking monsters that just want to show up and kill people in Jackson? But it's like, I don't really think they're monsters. If all their friends got murdered trying to create a cure for the world virus, and then we're like, well, fuck this guy. Also, if we find him, we might find the girl again. I don't know. I'm way more ready to be sympathetic to Abby and her crew than I was like I was saying earlier, Melanie Linsky's crew. They seem kind of authoritarian. They seem kind of just as fascist as Fedra. But I don't know. Abby feels pretty righteous so far, except for the fact that she wants to kill him slowly. I'm like, that's a little sadistic, but like, I get going after Joel and trying to find Ellie again. I get that.
I'm trying my hardest to hold in my excitement for you to watch this the rest of the season, because oh my god, there's so many things are gonna happen. You're feeding into like, oh, I can't wait till you see what actually happens. Like it's gonna be crazy. And for you guys, if you don't know, you're in for a wild ride.
Is there another dance?
There's some dances for sure. That's it. That's The Last of Us. Any thoughts on the episode as a whole now that we've talked about it? And also, did you watch the trailer for the upcoming season?
No.
No, you left it. You skipped up before the featurette and stuff like that.
I try very hard not to watch this.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, any thoughts on this episode now that we're finally through talking? Anything we missed? Anything you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, I can look at my notes, but I think that like in general,
covered everything.
I think I had to talk about the stuff I wanted to talk about for the most part. I think that like it seems like, and you don't have to answer this. It seems like that the whole point of the season is to establish like, oh, you start to recreate order societally and stuff, but it seems like it might all come crashing down pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's not necessarily a spoiler. They very much put in Abby into the first episode to remind you of that, right? That like, oh, what's the dang phrase? Oh, if it isn't the consequence of all my intentions,
actions,
or whatever, all my actions, right? That's Abby personified, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with Joel. They very much said this in the featurette, is like, hey, you do a thing, you don't just get to go off and like live your life, especially when you do it the way that Joel did it. I'm going to say it again. It's the way you did it. Like there are consequences, and those consequences are catching up to him. And he may not have even known that they were going to. Maybe he feared, but they're here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'm like, in general, I would say season 2, episode 1's a little low on action. A lot of like, oh, our world is calmer and most civilized now than it was in season 1, for sure. I'm ready to get back to some action. I hope things.
I think there's plenty of action. This is going to be an interesting season. I don't know how you feel about breaking up the game. So what we know is that there's 2 seasons right now that are going to cover the second game. Right? We only have 7 episodes this season. For me, the only thing that bothers me is it feels like it's moving at a little bit of a slower pace, but at the same time, pacing of the game, 30-hour-ish game, it's about the same time, right? But we're gonna get 7 episodes, and I'm gonna be wanting more, Yeah.
Also, I mean, this is
at this pace. I wouldn't be surprised if they're planning on getting a 3rd season out of this. I'm just gonna call it right now. It's not just 2 seasons. We're getting 3. We're absolutely getting 3 seasons.
I mean, I hate that I think you're right.
Yeah.
This is why I don't like television. I don't like TV. But sincerely, like if I can get on like the soapbox for 10 seconds, is that I'm like, I like features. Yeah. I like sitting down to watch something, knowing it's going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And yeah, I'm going to just, as soon as I start feeling like I'm the donkey with the stick in front of me, I'm like, oh, fuck you guys. Even though I like it, I'm like, ugh, just write the whole fucking, just let me have the story, man. Don't make me pull it out of you thread by thread, over the course of God knows how many seasons they're gonna turn this into. But yeah, I hope you're wrong. I feel like you're probably right.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been watching the trailers and with the person that I've played that we've both played the game and we both love the story and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I've been like, I think this is where season 1's going to end because I can't imagine it going past. I haven't seen any imagery from it. And so there's like a certain point where I'm like, she's like, yeah, I think you're right. Like this probably is going to end. I'm not going to say it here. Both for you guys and for you or whatever. It's like, but I have an idea, an inkling of where it is. And to me, it's like, it's not halfway through the game,
Yeah.
you know? So it's going to be, we still got plenty of story to cover.
Okay.
That's the way they're doing it.
I will say this.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Again, since I haven't played the game.
Yeah.
If we get to that point, I think you have to say.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I'll say when I'm right, but at the same time, like
no. At the same time, when this season ends,
yeah,
I don't want to know what the event is.
Sure.
But I want to know chronologically how far away it is.
Chronologically, how far away
in the world of the
game is?
No. From where they end season 2 compared to where you thought they were going to end it.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah,
I want to know.
Yeah, well, it'll be nice to know. I'll write it down and we can see if
I was put
right,
it down somewhere. write it in a note. Email it to yourself for proofs.
The last thing I will say, I didn't want the episode to end.
Yeah.
I'm in. Like I've been pulled back in. That's why I have this podcast. You know, like I love this show so much. I love these characters. I love the stories. There's something about it. I was telling someone else last night. I was like, there's something about some stories where I don't go into them thinking about like, oh, they should have done this or why did they do that or any of those kinds of things. You just kind of accept some stories. Right.
Yeah.
I think it very rarely happens. There are things maybe like for some people it's like Star Wars. You can't imagine A New Hope being any other way. Right. You know, there are things that you cannot just remake. There are things that you cannot, you know, like you just don't touch. Like the story is exactly the way it was supposed to be, the way that it was supposed to be told. And you just accept it. Right. And to me, that's The Last of Us.
Yeah.
No matter how many changes they make from the game to it makes sense. These things make sense. The characters, I fall in love with them all over again. I don't have to spend time thinking like, oh, Dina, do I like this actress? Do I like this character or whatever? It's like, no, like she exists. She exists for Ellie. And to me, that's all that matters. You know, this is, it's like, you could do whatever you want with the story. It's like, it's canon in my eyes, whatever you want to call it. Like that's the way I feel about The Last of Us. And I'm so glad to be back talking about it. I'm so glad you joined me to get this out of my system so I can have an outlet to talk about it and do whatever. Sure. And I hope everyone else is glad to be back and talking about it. It's a great story and a great time. And I'm so excited for the rest of the season. And I wish I could have it all now, but I can't.
I do kind of wish I could binge it. Yeah. It's like I'm not good at this waiting a week for an hour.
It's gonna be tough. I think even more so if the things in episode 2 as things go happen, it's gonna be a big cliffhanger. It's gonna be even harder. It's gonna keep on getting worse. But yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me.
This is Codependent Content. Is there anywhere if people want to follow you? Do you want to give any plugs for anything?
Man, okay. I'm on Instagram at Morgan Patrick Mayer. I do live here in sunny Los Angeles. If you're a casting director, ask for a reel. I can help you out. But actually, I have a D&D podcast too. Technically, it's Pathfinder. But yeah, it's a group of friends that have a big, long campaign. If you like role-playing games or tabletop RPGs, check it out. It's called The Heroes Die. You can get it anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. But yeah, I think that's probably my 2 best reach out points.
We love D&D here.
Good.
I hope my audience loves D&D. Hey, glad to be back. I hope you're happy. I hope we're all having a lot of fun. This is so great. This is a lot of work for me. I have a lot of editing to do, but
sorry, we talked a long time.
Here it is. Yeah. Anyway, the outro is coming. See you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to Codependent Content. For updates, you can follow us on social media. And if you ever want to see a video version of this podcast, feel free to check us out on YouTube or Spotify.
If you have any questions or simply want to tell us about something we missed, you can email us at codependentcontent@gmail.com or just leave a comment on TikTok and we'll get back to you. Links to all our accounts, where to contact us, or other ways to support will be in the description or show notes. We're glad you're here and working through your traumas with us. Remember, when you're lost in the darkness, search for the light. Live long and prosper, and may the force be with you. Until the next session, Cowabunga, dudes.